Hey, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're all about inspiration. And today's guest, I have to say, is one of the most inspiring women that you could have in Australia or probably the world. So let me introduce you, everybody. We have got racing royalty at our back fence, Gay Waterhouse, known as the First Lady of Australian Racing. Gay, daughter of the legendary T.J. Smith, is one of Australia's most recognised and successful horse trainers, including training horses for the late Queen Elizabeth. Gay also had an early life in the arts, appearing in TV shows like The Young Doctors and even Doctor Who, before returning to the stables and forging an extraordinary career in racing. Off the track, Gay is a true powerhouse, married to Robbie, mum to Tom and Kate, a grandma of 5, and now winning our hearts with a fabulous, unfiltered fashion commentary alongside her beautiful daughter Kate on Instagram, which we love. Gay, we're delighted to have you here. Thank you for joining us at the back fence.
It'd be lovely to be on the back fence with you two ladies. We were a bit slow getting out of the barriers, but we're here now.
Out of the barriers, that's the one. Look, we were delayed with this interview, so we're not going to go into too much depth. Other than, I'd love to know, originally when you started your career, leaving King Koppel, where my sister was the captain, great school, King Koppel. Great school, amazing school. From modelling and acting to merging with Dad, a reputable, remarkable, charismatic, amazing trainer, Tommy Smith. I mean, tell us about that story about merging in with Dad and learning the ropes of horse training.
Well, he didn't want me to be a horse trainer. He wanted me to do something else.
Fair enough.
When I gave up acting, he did say to me, come and work in the business. Now, I don't know what he thought I was going to eventually do after working in the business. And I was with him for 10 years. And then I said, I think I can take out a license. And he said, I think it'll be too hard, Gay. It's a tough old business. And it was mainly men in those days. And it was tough. It was a very male, bastion of male masculinity. But I knew I could do it. I didn't know I could do it, but I thought I could do it, and I knew I was going to give it my best shot. And I'd learned from the best, and I'd been around him since I was a little girl. So, I just did give it my best shot, and, it followed after. So it was marvellous.
Oh. Incredible. How beautiful to have. And tell me, is there anything you can see in yourself from your dad's personality?
Oh, lots. Dad was a perfectionist. If you were going to do something, you had to do it correctly. He was driven by ambition and to be successful. He didn't want anything but success. I'm very much the same. People say, how do you get on with your fellow trainers? I said, well, I don't really. It's not that I don't like them, but they're my competitors. So I've really got my head down, bottom up, so to speak,
And don't you love that head down, bottom up? I mean, literally in the chaff bag.
Literally. Oh, wow. And we have to tap in a little bit too. We've got to go back a little bit to being an actor, because you can see you're vibrant. You've got such a great personality and warmth about you, Gay. But what was the love with going into acting?
Well, that's all I really wanted to do from being a very small child. I was an only child, so I had a very vivid imagination. Right. When you're an only kid, you've got to be able to fill your days. I didn't go to school till I was nearly 8, so I was sort of at home, goofing around, going to Centennial Park with Dad, looking for ducks, looking for duck's eggs, which, of course, he got out of the fridge every morning and put them in his pocket, and I think I was finding them as a little kid. But it was a great life. It was around the stables. It was just a lovely sort of child life. Even though I lived in the city, we lived at Potts Point in an apartment block, but I was always scampering around somewhere or another.
Beautiful.
And then did acting take you to overseas? Did you go actually? You're on the Aussie show. Was it The Young Doctors? Quite famous on that. And then you went to the UK, Gay.
Yes, I did. I went to the UK with Mum and Dad. They were doing the sort of grand tour after I finished university, and we got as far as Rome coming home, and I said, I'm not coming back to Australia. I'm going to give it a go. Dad just walked away. He just wanted, he was most disappointed with me, but I did give it a go, and I was employed the whole time I was there for the 3 years. Took me to Canada. It took me, over to Europe. I travelled all over the place. It was fabulous. I enjoyed
Remarkable.
it hugely.
Wow.
Honestly, I think it's funny how many people we've interviewed, particularly sportswomen, whose fathers have have profound effect on A, passion, B, career. I mean, tell us, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening like myself that would never understand what a day in the life of Gai Waterhouse would be training horses. Can you describe a typical day for Gai Waterhouse, whether it be at the races or training or involved in negotiating with horses? How does that all work for you?
Well, there aren't any difficult days. Every day is different, which makes it so interesting. I get up early.
What's early?
Yeah, what's early? What's the alarm clock?
Well, it used to be 2:30 in the morning. Thank the Lord it's not anymore. And I get up about 4 every morning. I don't go to the track every day, but go to Randwick most days and help Adrian, be it over at the barriers with the young horses or around the stables, just keeping an eye on things, seeing how they're shod, seeing how they're bedded, trotting them up, making sure they're sound, just a sort of maintenance, which I enjoy doing very much. I sold my business 10 years ago, and Adrian is my co-trainer, or I'm co-trainer with Adrian. So I thought, silly if I'm there in the forefront, I've got to take a step back. Yeah. And I was happy to do that because I also want to have a little bit of another life as well.
And you certainly do. And also, you've had a very successful and still do marriage, to Robbie. Can you tell us, I think I heard somewhere, how did you guys meet? Isn't there a bit of a story behind that?
We met all thanks to John Singleton. He asked me to do a Racing's New Faces. And I asked Rob's father, would he come on the panel? And Mr. Waterhouse only knew one bookmaker, and he said, look, I'd love to, young Gai, but I'm going to America tomorrow. Why don't you ask my young son, Robert, which I did. Anyway, at the time they said, oh, no, we want someone else, some famous person on television. So I had to say to Rob, look, you're a no-show. And he said, well, what about we go out? And I said, I'm sort of busy with the show. What about after? Anyway, eventually we did go out, and from the moment we went out, we knew we were meant to be together. And my mother wasn't sold on the partnership. She didn't want me to marry anyone to racing. Anyway, we've been married 45 years, so it must be something right.
Wow. Are there any tips to your successful marriage, Gai?
Well, someone has to say sorry. You can't go loggerheads, otherwise it doesn't work. Someone's got to take a step back and just make sure that the partnership keeps going. And I can be very strong-minded in that, but at the end of the day, I want to resolve things and move on.
There's a lot of people talk about not going to sleep at night without resolving something that's stirring up in your relationship.
It's life short, isn't it?
I've heard that time and time again with people in long-term relationships that they resolve it before they sleep, and there's a lot in that. There really is.
There is, and obviously you share a same passion as well. With you work so well as a team together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're passionate about racing. We love racing, and we enjoy our families. We have, not a large circle of friends, but a small circle of friends, and we love being with them. You don't get a lot of time when you're working 7 days a week. I just finished looking at all the yearlings for the Easter yearling sale, which starts on Sunday week. So, I've been all around New South Wales or before that Victoria. So, I'm on the road quite a lot, looking at horses
and speaking of
the studs.
Speaking of horses, Gai, is there anything horses have taught you or that horses can teach us as people?
Well, there are many ways to skin a cat. So you've got to, if something's not working with the horse, you've got to step back and think, how can I, and it probably relates very much to how you deal with children and young people. If something's not working that way, let's give it another go. Let's try something else. And at the end of the day, my job's to make sure I get through to the horse and get him to do what I want him to do. I'm a trainer. I'm like a football coach. If the kid doesn't do what the football coach wants him to do, well, he won't stay on the team, will he? Well, I want these horses winning races. That's why we're engaged, to train them.
Yes,
Incredible.
yeah.
And what about lately? You're hearing a lot about equine therapy, like for anxiety and things like that through horses.
I don't believe in anxiety.
I love that. I love that.
How's that?
It's something that's just been brought up. Horses are animals, firstly. They're first of all creatures of flight. That's why their ears flick around all the time, and their eyes, the way they're designed, can go back to see what's happening behind them. So, they're creatures of flight. So they're naturally moving animals. So if they're being a bit skittish, I would use the word, not anxious, if they're being a bit skittish or silly, then I start to think, maybe they need ear muscle, maybe they need to work in a threesome with a horse either side. Maybe we should do something different with them. As I said, there are many ways to skin a cat, and I want that horse going on the track and being relaxed. He may just need as simple as that. He might need more work.
Yes.
If a horse comes bouncing off the track like a lunatic, I say send him back and work him again.
Yes,
I want my horses to go home and go to bed, lie down in the straw and sleep.
Oh, that's I love
your
that.
babies.
Now, you must have you got a favourite? I mean, it must be hard. It's like saying a favourite child or favourite grandchild. But with all the horses that you've trained, is there like one that's really soft to your heart, Gay?
Well, it's what you said. It's quite true. It's like a child, And you've got to remember that they're coming. They're not with you forever like your children. So they might only be in the stable 3 years, maybe 4, and then they go, and go and retire or whatever, do something else. And the new batch come too. So we're always getting new babies coming into the stables. So we've got the new babies just about to come in. They come in. They start being bought in January or being sent to us in January, and then they come into the stables at the end of April. So you're always looking for the new star, The old stars are wonderful, the Alligator's Bloods or the Pierrots, the Vancouvers, I could keep going forever. But it's also the new star. You're always looking for tomorrow. It's very much a tomorrow game.
Interesting.
Isn't that beautiful? Does that keep, because you're such a passionate woman and you've got so much energy, and we love that. And that's also one of the other reasons we wanted you on the podcast too, because it was saying about inspiration. You really do have a zest for life.
You do.
Are there any, tell us some of your personal highlights, Gay, whether it's in, I don't know, family life or whether it's in the horse racing. I mean, you've already had such a full life and a lot more ahead of you. But what
She's just beginning.
Yeah, what's some of the standout or highlights from Gay Waterhouse?
I think having family is, if you're lucky enough to have family you get on board, it's half the battle, isn't it? Because it's so pleasant. Rob and I come home every night, we sit on our balcony and we have a chit-chat and have dinner. It's really nice, go for a walk with the dog, watch a bit of telly. It's really nice. So I'm lucky enough to have a partner who's very supportive and still with me, I'm lucky enough to have Tom and Kate, our children, that we bounce off and have a lot of fun with. And, they're very loving and very supportive of Mum and always have been. And then the grandchildren, that's another level. And you don't know till you have grandchildren how much fun they are.
It's so true. I love them.
Not to happen yet for me, but
it's the greatest.
But for Di, absolutely loves it, and a lot of my friends are at the stage now, just sort of starting to happen, and it's can only imagine the joy. But tell us also. I mean, I was a little bit scared what to wear because you're a bit of the fashion police with your daughter Kate.
we love watching you
and
and
listeners,
Kate.
if you haven't seen, you got to tune into Gail Kate Waterhouse's Instagram.
She reminds me of Joan Rivers in Fashion Police.
It's so funny.
It's just brilliant.
You recently did the Oscars and I love it. You're just so blunt and you just so exactly how it is.
So, guys, you can see it on Kate or Gay's Instagram. Yeah. Is that where you found it?
Yeah, it is, yes. And Di's got on the silk shirt. I hope this is okay. I've got my pearls on for you.
Green was not my father's favourite colour. He sounded very unlucky. But I like green.
Green, yeah. Oh, well, I put the pearls on because I thought I better put the pearls on. I want to put something special on for Gay.
People become very casual in the way they dress. They become almost slobby. And, the lack of people, especially men shaving. You don't see men shaving it nowadays as much. And I'm a great believer in keeping a certain standard. maybe it's being an older person that, but I think if you really go out of your way to look nice, there's a book called Blink, and it says that in the first 30 seconds of an interview, the person that's a prospective employer will make up his mind or her mind, will they employ you. So I always say to them, go and look like you're going to be material to be the managing director. Don't go look like a slob, because the slobs are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, that's a good
so
life tip.
The people around me, I get them to dress up and to lift their standards very much.
These days, you are right. A lot of it's so much more relaxed. I mean, over the years, how you would have seen the fashions change. Whether
they were so strict at the races too, they'd measure, wouldn't they? Like how long it would be if you could enter certain areas. And how do you find it now because they've sort of relaxed it a bit more now, haven't they, Gay? Even for Melbourne Cup and dress standards, I think men can wear shorts as well.
Maybe not Ascot, but yeah.
Well, Melbourne still keeps very much their dress code up. I don't agree with them with the shorts. I mean, different on a Sunday meeting, but I think the rest of the time, once you lower your standards, you can't bring them up again. And it's with everything. So, if you're a stickler for sort of, I've got to have it at this level, then there's every chance you'll be very successful. But the lower you lower it, why lower it to the let's keep it high. And that's one thing that Australians tend to do, lower the bar too much, which I think is a real sadness.
I think there's nothing better. Nicola and I, been friends for 40 years, we love getting dressed up, don't we?
We
Making
do.
a bit
We
of an
love
effort.
it. We
just love it.
do. It's
truly.
Well, most women do.
It's
and very few women have any place to go to dress up. If you take out going to a wedding nowadays, you don't see it as much in the opera anymore or the theatre. Going to the races, you can dress up. You can't get dressed up to go to the footy or the cricket, but you can to the races. And I think people do enjoy it very much.
If we didn't have the headphones on, we would have had fascinators on for you, Gay.
We absolutely, that's what we were sort of saying that.
It just wouldn't fit. So, quick question, I'm dying to ask this one.
Yes.
Is prior to a race, that you put years into training a horse, do you have a gut feeling about the outcome, or are you superstitious, or do you have habits that you might, before every race, you have to maintain that?
Well, I'm not superstitious, but I don't put my hat down flat. I always leave it upwards.
Interesting.
I don't want any luck falling out.
Interesting.
But I do have a routine on a Saturday, very much so, and I like to get my husband's thoughts on the races. I like to get the speed maps. I talk to all the jockeys. I talk to the owners, and then I lastly talk to Adrian and get his spin on what he sees is going to take place on the track, and then he's the last person to talk to the jockeys before he legs them on. I watch all the races from home on the couch, and will be constantly on the phone to like that, or so and so and so and so. Not dissimilar to what you see Aidan O'Brien doing over in Europe. And then I can ring the owners if they've had a disappointing outcome or a successful outcome. It's quite a full day. It's very full, to be exact.
So the hat, is it just the hat that's turned upside down?
It is the hat. Yeah,
so that's the hat.
It's
It's the hat. And and in your gut, do you ever sense something prior to a race?
Oh yes. On race days, especially big day race days, you wake up with a sort of boom. It's a big day. You're in there punching early. I like to be able to say to people, I think this horse can win. I think it's important. You should know how your horse is going to run.
Yeah.
I'll often say to Adrian, can the horse win today, Adrian? Do you think that? I think people want that. But a lot of people like to have a bet. And it's nice if their trainer can say, look, I can give you a leg up. I think this horse has worked well enough to win this race.
Well, that's from the training, but I'll remember the hat though.
Yeah, absolutely, I think that's a good thing. I think in a hat's up, isn't it?
Some people twist their rings. I don't know. There's
and tennis players do have sort of like a bit of a ritual beforehand where they bounce the ball 3 times or do sort of something like that.
It also helps with nerves too, I think.
Now tell us about. It's pretty amazing. Not many people have worked for the Queen Elizabeth. What was she like? And tell us about your experience with the late, which we all love, beloved Queen Elizabeth.
Well, I was lucky enough, firstly, to train for her mother, the Queen Mother.
Really?
And it was a lovely horse called Life is Beautiful. And I said it was very appropriately named because she was about 98 at the time when the horse came to me. And then the Queen's racing manager was John Warren, who's now, he also is a racing manager for the King. And he said to me that we're thinking of sending a horse that ran third in the English Derby to Carlton House. And so Carlton House came to Australia, but he came with a bit of a ticket. And I said, well, what are his problems? The trainer, Sir Michael Stout, said he was a real married rogue. So I said to them, look, I can't fix this horse unless I have help, because this horse has obviously got it set in his mind. So I asked Her Majesty if I could engage Monty Roberts, who was a very famous, now very elderly man, who came out from America. And he came out and worked with Carlton House, and within a matter of minutes, the horse was already responding to him. And we completely wiped out the problem. And the horse went on to be very successful. She said to me, oh, Gay, she said, you've earned me more prize money in Australia than than all my trainers in England.
Oh, how beautiful.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Wow. And
Incredible
I've heard actually now the King and Camilla have taken on that they actually love the going to the races as well. Is that correct?
Camilla loves the races.
Yes.
And you know, the King has taken to it like a duck to water, which is wonderful and had quite success, which is great.
It's good for the sport in that sense to have that backing, without a doubt.
Wow.
So tell me, what race would you say you were most emotional about in your career?
I don't know. The Melbourne Cup has such tradition. It was a 165-year-old race. And everyone talks about it in Melbourne. You know, every single person talks about the Cup. Once, sort of this time of year, once June's over, everyone's focused on a Cup runner. And then the year I won with Ferrante...
That's right.
I said to my husband, I said to Rob, I don't know if I can go to the Cup today. I said, I'm so concerned. I don't want to let all the little people down, because they all said to me, you know, Kay, it's your Cup, it's your Cup, it's your Cup. He said, oh, for heaven's sake, just go and win the Cup, which we did.
I got goosebumps with that advice.
Look at your beautiful
just
smile.
Just go and win it.
Wow.
Go win it. But Golden Slip is always very exciting, you know, because which runs this Saturday at Rose Hill. You know, it's a very exciting race because I've won it 8 times.
As you do.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you look at it.
It's all about youth. It's all about the young horses. It's a stallion-making race of Australia, and I've made several stallions that have won the Golden Slipper. You know, Sebring, Piero, Farnham have all gone on, and Vancouver, all to be stallions. You know, so it's an important race for the breeding industry.
How fantastic.
Amazing she mentioned Melbourne Cup, because literally she talks about Melbourne, but, you know, we're Sydney girls, but the whole of Australia, originally,
yeah, I'm a Melbourne girl originally.
Stop, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, they say the race that stops the nation.
It's right. It's true.
And even if people just do their lunches, but that's the day people do get dressed up. But the funniest thing I always think of is the Kath and Kim scene. You know, at the races.
With the carrot in the fascinator.
I could watch that again and again
in the
and
toilet.
Again.
Falls over. Have you seen that?
Have you seen that?
Gay?
Kath and Kim, the 2 actors.
Oh,
yes.
A bit like that.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
We needed
We
the
have been
fascinators.
like that. It is a bit of giddy up. I think we might have fallen over once or twice, or got the train home or something. But tell us just for our listeners here some tips. You know, like you talk about inspiring, and when you're even saying about the Queen's mother at 98. But life is for living, and we're all about reinventing your life at different stages. We're in our 60s now, and you're just a little bit older. You know, are there any sort of tips that you could say, or if someone's feeling that they're too old and they're only 50 or something, what's a Gay Waterhouse?
I think you've got to move with the times. I think you've got to keep reinventing yourself, and you've got to keep up with what young people are doing and think young, and you've got to keep fit.
Yes.
You know, while you're unfit, you can't keep up, and you know, it's really important to be able to keep moving forward. Dad had a wonderful expression. Don't look back, just always look forward. And I'm very much the same, you know. And when Kate said to me, "Do you want to do this sort of fashion thing?" I thought, "Oh, that'll be great."
Yes,
terribly well received, So the same with the training. I'm always travelling and trying to see what we could do to help improve the stables. I've always done that.
I love it.
We love that.
What's the future look like for Gay Waterhouse? What would you like to see living the rest of your life out? What would you like to see change, or would you like to say exactly as it is?
Well, it won't stay exactly as it is because one changes. But I enjoy doing very much. I'm an out and about person. I've been no good in your office. So I'm out and about every day doing different things around the horses and in the stables and with owners. I try to engage the owners as much as I can. I think it's really important because most owners own a share in a horse or own a horse for the enjoyment of it. So you want it to be an enjoyable. You want to give them some feedback on what's happening so they can go down the pub or say to their friends, "Look, this is what she says," blah, blah, blah. I think it's important.
And you'd be a fun grandma too. I mean, look at you, because you're fit and gorgeous and you can, run around and chase them, or they could chase you.
Wait, do you train?
Rock and roll.
What sort of exercise do you do, Gay?
Oh, well, not enough. I walked up the hill with Rob this morning, and then I came back, and then I went off to the grandchild's open day. It was for the parents, but I sort of slipped it in. And I kept sort of doing little nanny ups through it. They were talking about who found Australia, and I could answer all those questions. I was quite good on that one.
I love it.
Well, you're allowed to do that. We're going to ask. We're about to go now. We've got a couple of our signature questions. Did you want to shoot, Di?
Okay, Gay. If you had the opportunity of meeting someone over the back fence, who would that be and why?
Oh, well, look, there's so many people. That's probably Rob. Rob's the love of my life, and also I enjoy talking with him, and I find it fascinating, and he's very well read and well travelled, so he's the person I'd like to
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful to hear, and being satisfied with what you've got. And what makes you happy, Gay?
Well, it doesn't have to be great too, I like quite simple things. Seeing my horse win gives me great satisfaction and great joy. Going for a swim in the morning.
Swim.
That I enjoy. I mean, there's something simple. Often the simple things in life give you great joy, don't they?
They certainly do. Well, you've certainly given us great joy, and you've certainly given our listeners great joy. So, Gay, thank you so much for joining us at the back fence. Now, this is on YouTube. We like ratings and review. We like our, people to rate us. Now, Di's got her own rating system. You might know this, but we've got Gay Waterhouse at our back fence. That doesn't happen every day.
Do you know what? It'd have to be 50-odd years in the industry out of 5.
There you go.
Not bad. It's not bad. It's positivity, ladies.
Gay, I want to say one thing to you. Keep shining your light.
Yes.
Because forevermore, whenever I've seen any vision of you, you've always got a laughter, that beautiful smile. You're really engaging, and and really appreciate your time today.
Yeah. We've loved it.
Thank you,
every minute of it.
Much.
Yes.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.